Well, let's start off with the Chattanooga Lookouts. How about this? They make the playoffs. What a run! I mean, obviously last year, one of the worst seasons in Reds minor league history, Chattanooga, and they turn it around. And this is the second time this main group of players has reached the playoffs. Dayton made the playoffs last year with a lot of these players, and now Chattanooga gets into the playoffs. And boy, do they earn it! They won their last 7 games in 6 days. One of them kind of got rained out, so it was actually almost like 7 games in 5 days, because they only played 3 innings in one of those days, and the game got suspended. But nonetheless, absolutely just an incredible run this week. Swept 2 doubleheaders, and believe it or not, this is Chattanooga's second playoff berth in the last 2 seasons. Today they beat Rocket City 8-2. The game actually got ended after 8 innings. Hector Rodriguez was 1 for 4 with a double and a walk. Rodriguez was just incredible this week. Last 6 games, 16 for 25. That's a 640 average. Had 7 extra base hits. It'll be interesting to see, does Hector Rodriguez get the promotion to AAA? He was the first of that group outside of Edwin Arroyo to get to Chattanooga. So it'll be interesting to see if he's done enough to get a promotion. Sal Stewart walked 3 times, 1 for 2 with 3 walks. Stewart has a 7-game hit streak, finished the first half, hitting .325 with a .393 on-base percentage. 7 home runs and 18 doubles in 66 games. If Stewart's able to turn a couple of those doubles into home runs, and which is certainly possible, I think, Great American Ballpark. The Southern League is a very difficult league to hit in. Look at some of those team OPS numbers, and you'll be like, oh wow, it's a really hard league to hit in. I was interested to see if he gets promoted to Louisville, or if he gets to the big leagues, if some of those doubles do start turning into home runs. Cam Collier, another good day for him, 2 for 3 with a double and 2 walks. Collier so far in Chattanooga, he's hitting .462 with a .533 on base percentage in 7 games. Jay Allen, 3 for 4 with a stolen base. Allen had been really struggling all year, but hitting .326 over his last 12 games. And then Jose Franco was a starting pitcher today. 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Franco finished the first half 7-2 with a 2.76 ERA this season. And Craig, just a couple other notes on guys that helped Chattanooga this first half get to a playoff berth. Worth mentioning, Franco, as I just said. Jose Acuna, they had some really good starting pitching. 2.73 ERA in 13 starts. Ryan Cardona had a 3.17 ERA in 10 starts. Don't forget Chase Burns gave them 8 starts with a cool 1.29 ERA. Then the back end of their bullpen was really good. They had Hunter Parks for a while. He's now at AAA, but R.I. Franson, Simeon Miller, and Trevor Kunzel, the local kid from Cincinnati, have been really good for them. So shout out to Chattanooga. Excited that they'll be the playoffs. It's now going to be interesting who actually is going to play in the playoffs in a couple months when Chattanooga gets there, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it when I was going through and creating the graphic for tonight's show. So many different names, and different names that I think are potential contributors to this Reds franchise down the road, that all performed well today. It made it really difficult for me to make that graphic because I could only fit so many names. But you look up and down that roster, you just mentioned so many of them, but everything from the pitching depth that they've been able to have to Michael Troutwine behind the plate, Edwin Arroyo, who many think is the best defensive shortstop in the Reds organization, Austin Callahan, Cam Collier, Ruben Ibarra, Dominic Patelli, Sal Stewart, Jay Allen, Austin Hendrick, Ethan O'Donnell, Hector Rodriguez. Like the list goes on and on and on at this Chattanooga team. What'll be interesting, you mentioned who will be left to be actually playing in those playoffs. It'll be interesting to me, Nick, because last year it felt like some of these guys could have been promoted up from high A, but the Reds chose to leave them there, we think, at least to give them that playoff experience. Will the Reds keep this core together in Chattanooga again now that they've earned a playoff spot to give them even more playoff experience, or have they earned that right to be promoted? Guys like Cam Collier, you mentioned, who's absolutely smashing the ball now at AA after coming back from his injury, certainly seems worthy of being moved up to Louisville. But Sal Stewart, also a name that's been on the list. Many of these guys who I think are projected to contribute to the Reds in the near future. Just, again, an opportunity for experience in baseball that matters. And you mentioned it, 7 straight wins now in a stretch that really matters.
Yeah, I lean more towards if you don't think any of these guys are actually going to make it to the big leagues this year, I would just keep them at Double-A. I don't really see the big benefit of moving them up to Triple-A. I don't think the leap from High A to Double-A is significantly larger, in my opinion, than the leap from Double-A to Triple-A. Collier is going to finish the year in Double-A unless he just absolutely torches that league. He's only played 7 games there, so you're not going to move him. And Stewart and Collier, I really kind of just want them to be together. I kind of like that idea because they do seem like 2 foundational pieces. Hector Rodriguez is probably the one that's going to be the hardest at this point to keep there, just because he finished the year at Double-A. All these other guys didn't. Edwin Arroyo doesn't seem ready to be promoted, so I mean they could do a little bit of splitting on both. Ethan O'Donnell had a pretty rough first half. Jay Allen had a rough first half. So you still would have a lot of those players if they just did maybe Stewart and Hector Rodriguez. But I don't know. I kind of would like to see them just kind of keep that core together, even despite having to watch them on Chattanooga's broadcast. I would personally like to see them on the Louisville broadcast, which is a significant upgrade in terms of technology-wise for those of us who watch this. But outside of that, I don't know. I kind of just want to see them stay together.
Yeah, it's important to remember a lot of these guys are still pretty young. I mean, Sal Stewart's 21, Cam Collier is 20, Edwin Arroyo is 21, Hector Rodriguez is 21. So, I mean, still a lot of time in front of you before you really get to their prime. I don't know. I'm interested to see how guys like Hector Rodriguez perform at the next level. And I do think that outfielders are going to have more of an opportunity to reach that major league level sooner than some of the infielders. I don't necessarily think, knock on wood with injuries, that the opportunities are going to be there on the infield versus, we've seen guys like Will Benson struggle in the outfield. There may be better opportunities. Reese Hines has struggled when given the opportunity. So there might be opportunities for the outfielders to get to that major league level sooner than later versus guys like Edwin Arroyo, who I think we can agree is probably on the outside looking in of reaching the major league roster anytime soon. Cam Collier is an interesting one because of his ability to play first base. And obviously outside of Spencer Steer, CES and Jamer Candelario have both struggled so far. So is there an opportunity for him to get some major league reps at first base? Maybe. But time will tell. I'd love to see them stick together and make a run in the playoffs like we got to see with them last year, though.
Let's also not forget, at the end of 2022, Ellie De La Cruz, Matt McLean, and Christian Encarnacion-Strand all finished the year at Double-A. And they went to spring training the next year. They looked the part, and they got promoted pretty quickly. CES was the last one, but what was he, like, mid-June? I mean, they were all up pretty quick. So just because you keep them down in Double-A the rest of the year doesn't mean that they couldn't potentially crack the big league roster very early next season. And I think you kind of hope that they're on that trajectory. Now, certainly none of those players are the next Ellie De La Cruz. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. But some of them might be the next Matt McLean. And certainly, I mean, to this point, don't have to stretch too hard to say that one of them could be the next CES. But CES hasn't performed to what I have the expectations and belief that he can be. But yeah, I mean, they're not that far away. That's my Collier is probably the one they're going to be the most patient with, just because he's so much younger than everyone else. But these guys are not that far away from the big leagues.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Nick. Obviously, we've had a lot of conversation about the trade deadline and this Reds team adding at the trade deadline and being buyers. Most likely means that you're going to have to part with some prospects that you envision as part of your future or could envision as part of your future. So I'll put you on the block. If you're Nick Kroll, give me the untouchable. Which prospect are you not moving, or would you not even answer the call on? And which prospect are you most willing to move in the near future at the trade deadline?
Okay. All right. So we'll just kind of stick with the Double-A conversation here.
Yeah, we'll stick with this Chattanooga conversation.
Okay. All right. I think Hector Rodriguez, if would be the one that would be the most likely to get moved. Number one, he wasn't drafted by the Reds and didn't come up through the Reds organization, so I think it makes front offices a lot easier to move on from that player than guys like Sal Stewart and Cam Collier that they drafted that they've seen all the way through. It probably shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that way. But I just think that's human nature that they become really attached. And I've talked to some people in the Reds, and I don't think the Reds are unique in this, but they're a little too attached to some of these guys. So I think Hector Rodriguez has played so far out of his mind that I think he's the one you're selling high on the most. Sal Stewart, I think he's probably about where he's at just because he haven't seen the power yet. So I don't think you're going to get enough to where I think it would make sense to move him. I don't think the Reds want to move Sal Stewart at all. I don't think, and Edwin Arroyo hasn't performed well enough to where I think you'd feel like you were getting enough back. Cam Collier for me would be the most untouchable because out of that group, Cam Collier is the one that I see down there that I go, he has the chance to be a actual superstar. I think there's a lot of those players that could be good, and you never know. Some players might turn out to be way better than my wildest expectations, but Cam Collier to me is the one that's the most untouchable. He's the youngest. He has that that pedigree. His dad played in the big leagues. He's the one I'm not moving unless, I'd have to be absolutely blown out of the water, and I don't think anyone would even come close to matching what I would want back for Cam Collier.